is now a married man with his own children. And even though he had his own children, wanted to be a better father than his own, still struggled inside to figure out what it is that perhaps he did wrong as a child. And so he started an organization that is called Dadsinthepicture, for very obvious reasons, to assist and to try, together with other fathers in communities and societies, to fix the imbalance that comes into the life of a child at a very young age. And considering the amount of violent acts that are perpetrated against young children, and particularly sexual violence in our society at the moment, we felt it was pertinent to have this conversation to attempt to find the positive stories in our communities. Thank you for joining us, Meshack.
Thank you, sir.
Just give us a broad idea of what Dadsinthepicture actually stands for and what it does.
Good morning to the viewers. Dadsinthepicture primarily focuses on men, saying men must take an active role, parenting role to the children. Be it men that are not necessarily having their own biological children. It could be an uncle, it could be a grandfather, it could even be a big brother who just has to, because of circumstances, step up. We then say we want to see these men doing certain activities with their children, be it the ones that are biologically fathered, or be it that they are nephews and nieces, be it that the mother's child has passed on and is a single father. We need to then help them, empower them, get them to understand that the children need them, and then not only do they need their financial support, which is normally a communication between the mother and the father, but in this case, they need, the children in their own eyes need to see you active, because then you can teach them the values that you have. You can teach them that extra that the mother might not reach, or you can actually become the role model that they're looking for, be it in TV and in all the other places.
Meshack, the news has been rife of stories. Even just yesterday, a little girl was buried, Jasmine Pretorius, killed and raped by her own uncle. There are so many violent acts against children being perpetrated at the moment. What is your organization's view on all of this?
We as fathers are really heartbroken at all these rapes and the abuse. We would then focus on children because we are focusing on fathers and their children, but we also focus on the women as well, to say we need to then look at the root cause of this problem, because it appalls us. When we just came back from celebrating, actually observing the 60 days of activism against the violence that's perpetrated, we were out there vocal, because then what we do is that the members that we have and the context that we have, we highlight to them the importance of actually protecting our children. We are definitely against all form of violence. Rape of children is actually hitting hard at the very core of our society, and we will do everything in our power to make sure that it comes to an end. For starters, now we have projects that we run. Currently, we're just doing it electronically, via Facebook, via Twitter, on our newsletters. We actually highlight the need for children to be protected, because now if you look at the statistics, over 60% of children are growing up without their fathers. That's exposing them to this kind of violence. That's also, the perpetrators are not brave people. They are actually little men that actually have insecurities, and they get power over raping children, over raping women. And now what we're saying is that if they see that the household has got a male in it, the chance of that it's been looked at in statistics are reduced. If the children actually are taken care of, they have that little money for extra, for airtime, for instance, they will not be going out and sleeping with older men who in turn rape them, because that also become, well, you can't have consensual sex with children under 16. So that becomes rape. So we're saying men need to be in the picture to make sure that these things don't happen, because the mothers are fighting a battle. And we're not saying they're losing, but somehow our jails are still getting full. Our stats are going up. We are appalled every time that a child as little as 6 months. I mean, how do you rape a child as 6 months old?
I don't know.
How don't you see your own daughter in that child?
It makes absolutely no sense to me, and I've always believed that it is an opportunity for men to stand up and say precisely what you're saying. These are little men with very little integrity or moral stature, but that's what it comes down to. The job of parents is in fact to instill within their children principles and morals and ethics. And without having a male figure on, particularly for other young men, we really we won't be able to really make a dent in the spirit.
We always say in the organization that we are aiming to raise good men. And by good men, we say men that will respect women, men that will know their position and their worth, men that will know that it is within them to find that value, and not try and find it by violent means, and not to try and find it and looking at the vulnerable ones and say, then they will go and rape and they will go and kill and maim the innocent, because they've done nothing to these people. They've just been here. God has graced us with their presence, so let us protect them as men.
What have you installed into your style of parenting that lacked within your own life?
I would say it's more of when I grew up. There was a top-down approach. My grandfather, my uncle would actually say, "This is how it is," and I would follow suit. But then we've realized that there's a little part that's been missing in the sense of that tenderness, that femininity, if you want to call it that. I've had to struggle with it. I've had to struggle with sitting and listening to the child and actually grasping what they're actually saying and trying and merging that with my responsibilities. I mean, children have got rights and parents have got responsibilities. The two must somehow find a balance. Because now if you look more, only focusing more on the children's rights, then you need to really define what those rights are. A child having a PlayStation is not a right. A child playing is a right. A parent having a responsibility to take the child to school, that's their responsibility. But the parent abusing the child, be it they're transgressing on any of the laws that govern the children, then that's absolutely they need to be brought to book. So we say as men, let's take
Yes, stand shoulder to shoulder and attack this, but there are still men out there who are grown-ups and some of them fathers who are still perpetrators. What does the organization do to attempt to either interact with them or just let them know that this is not on?
You're correct in saying there are men out there who are perpetrating violence, and they are grown men who, in our opinion, should have grown in an era where there was moral, there was law, there was an understanding of protecting children. What we normally do is that we need to be visible. We need to, starting from way top up, from the president himself, we need to show that positive side of parenting. We need to show that we care about our children. We need to get that man who's sitting in their corner thinking that other men are going to see me doing this. Because some of the men are actually doing it with other men. It's not a case of they're doing it in isolation. They actually go out and post about it. They post pictures of 16-year-olds on Facebook. And then you wonder, that why would they actually go to that extent? Now we're saying as friends, as fathers, as brothers, as colleagues, we must talk. You must talk to the man next to you. I talk to every man. Every man that actually I talk to, I call him a timer. Mm-hmm. There's a few that actually say, no, I'm not a timer. And I have to, over the months, get them to understand what a timer means. So that when they look at that child, they must remember that, wait, I'm a timer. And so what we do is that in our newsletters, we give them tips from time to time. And we've also partnered with some of the organizations, for instance, FAMSA and SAVS, South African Sexual Federations, to say, help us out. If we identify a problem, we are not professionals. So the services we're offering is primarily the support and the networking and the platform. But we've got professionals that are on board with us to help us with making sure that we get this back on track.
In the studio with us, Meshack is the chairman of Dadsinthepicture, an organization that is working fervently to assist fathers in society to understand the role that they need to play, what their duties and responsibilities are versus the luxuries that you give children. Way too many dads on the one end believe that spending 2-3 hours with their child is in fact them babysitting instead of fathering. On the other hand, however, with so much violence being perpetrated against children at this time, it's a great opportunity for men whose hearts are hurting at this time due to all of this to stand up and be counted and to say, we, as the men within our society, the good men, the non-perpetrators of violence in our society against women and children, to stand up and say, not on our watch.